Can the seller be home during showings? Well, by the end of this video, I'll show you why that may not be the best idea. I'll share a short story and some suggestions based on my experience selling hundreds of homes and working with clients to prepare them for showings and the entire selling process. We'll talk about that today on Realty Talk. I know what it's like. I've been a seller myself, and I know how inconvenient it can be to have to clean up, pack up, and leave the house every time someone wants to show. It can add extra stress if you have pets to consider, because if they can go with you, it's a good idea to take them too. It's challenging, but if we understand that selling a house is a professional business transaction and one of the largest transactions most people will ever do, we'll also understand the need to work hard to get it right. After all, getting it right can actually shorten the entire process, and a little planning goes a long way towards keeping your sanity while selling your house. When talking about how to get started with the listing, one thing to decide is what the best days are to put your house on the market. An experienced realtor can help with this, once they know what your goal is for the closing date. I know my market, so with my clients, our conversation will be about the unique marketing strategies we'll use and the ideal timing to get their house sold. Once you know where you want to be and by when, the next step is to determine how soon to begin the process. When I was in the military, I learned a technique called backwards planning. This is also referred to as beginning with the end in mind. Once your listing is active, the first several days of showings will bring the greatest number of ready, willing, and qualified buyers. So be ready and plan not to be there. Think about which days or hours of the day you're most likely not going to be home anyway. Is 9 to 5 Monday through Friday better, or do weekends give you the most flexibility? Start with that. Next, do you have pets that can be kenneled somewhere inside the house? Can you easily load them in the car and take them with you? Or do you have a friend or a friendly neighbor who can help? It's not absolutely necessary to remove pets. I adore my dog, and I know she would never harm anyone. But we want the showing to be all about the house and not about playing with our cute animals. Everyone's lifestyle is different, and yet, when we're trying to sell, we should all commit to one action, and that is making the house as accessible to buyers as possible, and not to have distractions that cause buyers to feel uncomfortable and prematurely end their showing on your house. Having the seller in the house can truly make buyers feel uncomfortable during their showings. I've personally had buyers tell me they felt weird about being in the house while the seller was home, and unfortunately for the seller, that was enough to end the buyer's interest in that listing. Here's a tip. Buyers expect to enter the home with their realtor or agent and be able to view the property and speak freely about what they're seeing. They'll often imagine placing their own furnishings in each room while walking through the house. So having the house clean, uncluttered, and depersonalized will also make it easier for the buyers to overlook the seller's belongings and see how they could make your house their home. Here's a funny story. I was working with one couple and we went to a showing. An older gentleman was there and he was the seller. He invited us in, but he had no intention of leaving the house. In fact, he followed us from room to cluttered room, telling us all about his treasures in each one. He was a nice guy, but my clients couldn't wait to get out of the house and on to the next showing. I mean, this guy didn't stop, and he actually talked us all the way back to the front door. After leaving, probably none of us could recall a single detail of the actual property, just how strange it was for the seller to be there talking to us. This strategy will virtually never work in the seller's favor for showings and selling a home. Here's a word of caution too. When sellers and buyers talk directly to one another, there could be a clash of personalities, or one party or the other ends up saying way too much. Even if the parties hit it off right away, there's a real danger that either of them could give away their motivation for selling or buying, thereby surrendering their power during negotiations. I'm not being overly cautious here. I've personally seen it happen, and almost every occasion it puts one party or the other at a disadvantage. It can cause regret when you realize it got out of hand, but you can't unring that bell. This is why the buyers and sellers' realtors should always be the go-betweens during transaction. Experience and the realtor's code of ethics guide their conversations, and their fiduciary duty is always to protect their client's best interests and not reveal their motivation. Now here's an example of getting it right by allowing the professionals you hired to represent you to do their work. This is a story of when I helped one client proactively prepare their listing to go active. They were a growing family that I served once before when I helped them purchase their very first home. Now they decided to sell and upsize into a new home. We found a beautiful new build they loved and put it under contract. Next, they got to work on all sorts of things at their current house, including replacing the carpet just before the pictures were taken and before the showings began. Like the rest of us, they had obstacles to overcome to make the house accessible, so we talked about how to make it work. They have pets and 3 children, so they felt the best strategy was to begin showings on a Saturday morning and for them to have a weekend staycation at a nearby hotel. It's a good thing they did too, because over the weekend they received 88 showing requests and literally got 20 offers to purchase their house. The battery in my electronic lockbox even died from overuse, and I had to go swap it for a fresh one. The house was in great shape, so the offers were very competitive. I placed them all on a spreadsheet so the sellers could quickly and easily identify their favorite offer, which had the best terms, and in this case made them $35,000 above the list price, even though I had it already priced at the top of the market in that area. Most importantly, proper preparation and flexibility made the process of selling fun for them and made the house extremely easy to show. We got to go play with the kids at the hotel pool, while I did my job of taking all of the calls and negotiating the terms of the offers with the buyer's agents. Next time I spoke with the sellers, within minutes of presenting the offers using the spreadsheet, they accepted one of them and went back to their daily lives again. The buyers scheduled their inspection one day while the sellers were away at work anyway, and later they had an appraisal which took about an hour or less, so the family had minimal interruptions overall. When sellers understand the reason for planning not to be in the house during showings, they can often benefit from a quick and virtually stress-free sale, and they can go and enjoy their new home. Doesn't that sound like the type of transaction you'd want for yourself? Well, if I can help, I'd be honored. I'd love to read your comments and answer any questions you have, so please feel free to leave them in the comments section below or text me directly right now.